Hello everyone, myself Susri Satarupa and I am back with the C++ Prep series. Today we will start with module 2 of our series, that is Fundamentals in C++. Let's have a recap of the first module. In the first module of Introduction to Programming, we had covered programs and programming languages, compilers, interpreters, linkers and loaders, and we have also run our first C++ program. In today's session, we shall discuss keywords, variables, constants, and data types. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, then subscribe it and click on the bell icon. Now we shall talk about C++ keywords. But before that, let's know what is a token. A token is the smallest individual unit in a program. The compiler recognizes them for building up expression and statements. In simple terms, a program is a collection of tokens, comments, and white spaces. There are 5 types of tokens and they are keywords, identifiers, constants, strings, and operators. Let's see what is a keyword. A keyword is also known as reserved words and they have special meaning to the C++ compiler. They are always written in lower cases. Some examples of keywords are void, int, public, etc. Keywords cannot be used for a variable name or a function name. There are many keywords in C++ like new, operator, private, protected, public, try, throw, catch, etc. In this series, we shall cover most of these keywords and their uses. But if you want to know more about them, then check out the description below and click on the link. Now let's discuss about what is an identifier and how it is different from keywords. Identifier refers to the name of variables, functions, arrays, classes, etc. These are created by programmers and they are fundamental requirement of any language. There are some rules for naming identifiers and the rules are identifier cannot start with a digit or any special character. A keyword cannot be used as an identifier name. We can only use alphabetic characters, digits, and underscores. The upper cases and lower cases letters are distinct. That is, if we write capital A as an identifier, then small a is different from capital A. A few examples, we can use number as an identifier or we can use number 1 as an identifier. But if we try to write one number as an identifier, then it would be an invalid identifier. We should never use digits in the first place of an identifier. But we can use underscore. We should maintain a practice to write meaningful identifiers so that when we refer back to our program, we can know why we have written the identifier and what is its use. So now the question arises, how are keywords different from identifiers? Keywords are predefined reserved words, whereas identifiers are the values used to define different programming items like variable, integers, structures, unions. Keywords always start with lowercase, whereas identifier can start with lowercase or uppercase letter. A keyword can contain only alphabetical character, but identifier can contain alphabets, digits, and underscores. Example of keywords are int, char, while, do, whereas these are the examples for valid identifiers. Now let's discuss about variables in C++. A variable is an identifier that denotes a storage location which is used to store a value or a constant. A variable is a name given to a memory location. It is the basic unit of storage in a program. The value stored in a variable can be changed during the program execution. A variable is only a name given to a memory location. All the operations done on the variable affect that memory location. In C++, all the variables must be declared before use. So how to declare variables? We can declare the variable by writing data type space variable name, or we can declare multiple variables in a single statement by writing data type space variable 1, variable 2, variable 3. Since variable is an identifier, it follows the same rules or the same conventions, right? It consists of alphabets, both upper and lower case, numbers and underscore character. However, the name must not start with a number. In this diagram, int is the data type. Data type means the type of data that can be stored in this variable. Age is the variable name. Variable name is the name given to the variable. And 20 is the value assigned to the variable. It is the initial value stored in the variable. Now let's discuss about the difference between variable declaration and definition. Variable declaration refers to the part where variable is first declared or introduced before its first use. Whereas a variable definition is the part where variable is assigned a memory location and a value. Most of the times, variable declaration and definition are done together. Let's see an example for better clarification. In this example, we are declaring and defining the variable A123 in the same statement. In the second example, we are doing the same. Now you may be confused how, because we are not assigning any value. In C++, when we define a variable, it assigns some garbage value to the variable. So both declaration and definition is done in the same statement. We can also do multiple declaration and definition in the same statement. So now we shall discuss about constants or literals. Constants refers to the fixed values that the program may not alter and are called literals. Constant can be of any of the basic data types and can be divided into integer numerals, floating point numerals, characters, strings, and boolean values. Again, constants are treated just like regular variables except that their values cannot be modified after the definition. Now let's discuss about integer literals. An integer literal can be a decimal, octal, or hexadecimal constant. A prefix specifies the base or radix. 0x or 0 capital X for hexadecimal, 0 for octal, and nothing for decimal. An integer literal can also have a suffix, that is a combination of UL, L for unsigned and long respectively. The suffix can be uppercase or lowercase and can be in any order. Let's see few examples. 212 is a valid integer literal. 215U is also valid. 0xFEL is also valid. 078 is invalid because 8 is not an octal digit. 032 UU is invalid because we cannot repeat a suffix. Few more examples. Here 85 is decimal, 0213 is octal, 0x4b is hexadecimal, 30 is INT, 30U is unsigned INT, 30L is long, 30UL is unsigned long. Now let's discuss about floating point literals. A floating point literal has an integer part, a decimal point, a fractional part, and an exponent part. We can represent the floating point literals either in decimal form or exponential form. While representing using decimal form, we must include the decimal point, the exponent, or both. And while representing using exponential form, we must include the integer part, the fractional part, or both. The signed exponent is introduced by small e or capital E. Let's see few examples. 3.14159 is valid. 314,159 E minus 5L is valid. 510E is invalid because it has incomplete exponent. 210F is also invalid because it has no decimal or exponent. Point E55 is also invalid because it is missing integer or fraction. Now let's talk about Boolean literals. There are two Boolean literals and they are part of standard C++ keywords. One is true, that represents the value true. Another is false, representing false. We should not consider the value of true equal to 1 or the value of false equal to 0. Now let's discuss about character literals. Character literals are enclosed in single quotes. If the literal begins with capital L, it is a wide character and should be stored in wchar_t type of variable. Otherwise, it is a narrow character literal and can be stored in simple variable of char type. A character literal can be a plain character, an escape sequence, or a universal character. There are certain characters in C++ when they are preceded by a backslash, they will have a special meaning. And they are used to represent like new line, \n or tab \t. We have a list of some such escape sequence codes, and if you want to go through them, check out the description below. Now let's discuss about string literals. String literals are enclosed in double quotes. A string contains characters that are similar to character literals like plain character, escape sequence, and universal character. We can break a long line into multiple lines using string literals and separate them using white spaces. Here are few examples like hello, space dear. In this statement, we have break the long line into two lines, and in this statement, we have written three strings, that is hello, space D and EAR. Now we shall discuss about C++ data types. All variables use data type during declaration to restrict the type of data to be stored. Therefore, we can say that data types are used to tell the variables the type of data it can store. Whenever a variable is defined in C++, the compiler allocates some memory for that variable based on the data type with which it is declared. Every data type requires a different amount of memory. There are three types of data types. They are primary, derived, and user-defined. Primary data types are the data types that are built-in or predefined data types and can be used directly by the user to declare variables. They are integer, character, boolean, floating point, double floating point, void, and void character. Derived data types are those data types that are derived from primitive or built-in data types. There are four types, namely functions, arrays, pointer, and reference. Now comes the third type of data type, that is abstract or user-defined data types. These data types are defined by user itself, like defining a class in C++ or a structure. C++ provides the following user-defined data types, that are class, structure, union, enumeration, and type-def defined data type. In the next class, we shall dive deep into all these data types and shall look into what are bits, bytes, nibbles, and words. Thank you.